Yesterday, I posted a video on this channel about the need for the next president, if God willing that president is a Democrat, the need for the next president to not say we need to just move on from Donald Trump, but rather to pursue legal accountability for Donald Trump. The man is a criminal. The man has committed a lot of crimes. Now, many of those crimes will be beyond the statute of limitations and won't be able to prosecute him for those. And he has broad immunity now for any crimes that he's committing while in office that are official acts of the president. But he's also committing a lot of crimes for which there is no immunity, such as bribery and other crimes like that. And he's probably committing a whole bunch of crimes that we're not even aware of yet. And so there are already crimes for which he can be prosecuted once he leaves office. And the next president needs not to move on from Trump, but rather to prosecute him. Because reestablishing the rule of law in this country requires that we hold this man accountable to the fullest extent of the law. So I posted that video yesterday. Please check it out if you haven't seen it. And I posted another video about how we can go about prosecuting him and whether or not it's even legally possible, which it is, given the Supreme Court's disastrous immunity decision. And I posted that video on the Romano Report earlier today. And in response to that video, I got a question that I think reflects the attitude of a lot of people, which is, so what? You know, what difference will it make? The person said, he'll just tie everything up in the courts, and he'll invoke habeas corpus that he's trying to deny people right now. And I wanted to respond to that real quick. First of all, habeas corpus would have nothing to do with that. That habeas corpus has to do with challenging your confinement. That wouldn't be an issue if we're prosecuting Donald Trump. People don't understand, I think, some of the technical and legal aspects of some of these terms that get thrown around. So habeas corpus is irrelevant. But as to him tying everything up in the courts, what does that even mean? So he'll file some motions. If he gets indicted, he will file some pre-trial motions. Well, of course he will. All defendants do that. He won't be able to file any kind of different pre-trial motions than anyone else would, except he will undoubtedly, if he's prosecuted for crimes that he's committing right now as president, he will file motions to dismiss based on the Supreme Court's immunity decision. And there will be, hearings about whether or not that decision applies to the specific crimes with which he is charged. And if they are, not official acts, he's going to lose those. So, but just don't. I understand the skepticism and the defeatist attitude. Oh, there's nothing we can do. He'll tie everything up in the courts. He, just like he did last time, people say, well, yes, he tried, but if it weren't for the American people reelecting him as president, he'd be standing trial probably right about now or in the next couple of months for the crimes that he committed and for which he was indicted. So even all the motions and the trying to tie everything up in court, that would not have prevented him being put on trial. Maybe it would have dragged it out a little bit, and it would have taken a little longer to get him to trial, and maybe that will be the case if he's indicted after he leaves office. But that's not a reason for not prosecuting him. That's because he might try to delay things. So what? Again, all defendants try to delay their trials. So what? I understand the reason for pessimism and defeatism, and maybe we'll never prosecute him. Maybe the next president, whoever that is, will say, oh, it's just time to move on, and I'm not going to pursue charges against Donald Trump. Anyone who takes that position, I will not vote for. I think it's fundamentally important that we prosecute him after he leaves office for his crimes. But anyway, I just wanted to address that. I definitely understand the pessimism after everything that this piece of shit has gotten away with, but now is not the time to give up. Now's the time to press on And hopefully one day we can get his fat orange ass in prison and prosecute him and send him to prison. Anyway, thanks for watching.